Hey all, Joe Saraceno here, the Blue Collar Man. Welcome to Twisted Wrestling Studios. It's our multi-use facility. And next Saturday, we have a um, studio taping, November 16th at 3 p.m. And I think we've shared a good amount of that. And you pretty much know who's going to be there. And those of you who are going to come, we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a good time. But I thought while I was up here, I'd show you around a little bit to give you some of our latest um, upgrades. So obviously over here, we still have our wall where we have the championship wrestling from Florida, CWF. We have the Cooker's Gym, the TWA banner, the Blue Collar Man. Over here, you can come on in here a little bit, Randy, and show them the legend Bob Cook. All right. And so, obviously, I think one of our latest additions is the American flag. And so, technically, we have 3 stages now in our studio. We have the Wall of Honor, we have the American flag, but last but not least, I'm really excited about this. I want you to take a look at this. We've got our curtains up, we have our flags, and this also can be a stage. It could be a backdrop for podcasts, interviews, um, just various things that if you were to really put in a nutshell why I'm really here. Back in 1984, I started a church in Fontana, California, and this year has been 40 years since I started that church. And maybe you're wondering why I'm wearing the clothes that I am today, but I think I wanted to do that in concert with something else that's going to occur after the beginning of the year. We are going to start for the lack of a better term, a ministry called Wrestling with God. And in that, we're going to be sharing some shorts, some thoughts, some encouragement. And as I stated, it's been 40 years since we originally started our work. I still hold a 501c3 nonprofit. Many of you may know that I was involved in ministry. Some of you may not. And of course, some of you might be saying, well, the way he acts sometimes, maybe, what was he doing in the first place? Well, technically, that's none of your business. No, just joking. So in light of that, as I talked about a few podcasts ago, I talked about how all of this occurred not just because we wished it, not just because we were hoping for it, but there's a passage in the Bible in Proverbs 29, verse 18, I believe it is. It says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And so in all of our lives, we have to have a vision. We have to have something to look forward to. I remember when I lived in California, although Disneyland might have been a 45-minute drive from us, as a kid, if I knew we were going to Disneyland on Saturday, that vision, that purpose, that looking forward caused me to get through Monday through Friday. So again, this is our vision. It's still evolving. It's still opening up. But before I let you go, again, we're going to be starting after the beginning of the year, a ministry called Wrestling with God. And before you turn the TV off, I would caution you to take a few moments when we begin to do this and hear what I have to say. There's a reason that I am not currently operating in a church capacity officially. Although if you're a minister, that's what you do, whether you get paid for it or not. The ministry really is a mission. It's not a career. So just to give you a few thoughts about impact, and before I let you go, I want to tell you a story about when I started training at 60 years old up above the Buck Stadium. And I was there under Fred Ottman's training center. Frankie Reyes was the head trainer. And Joey would always come up with me. And I think you're going to enjoy this little story before I let you go, because it has to do with impact, influence, and who has that in your life, and maybe who you have on other folk. So we were training one day, and one of the students said to Frankie, he says, "Frankie, do you believe in God?" And all the place went silent. And of course, I'm flying under the radar. I'm not trying to, you know, for the lack of a better term, shove my religion down anyone's throat. That's never been what I've been about. But I can tell you, in the last 40 years, I have learned some things. And during that conversation, Frankie reached up and he pointed at the wall, and there was a picture sort of like this. And this was Boris Malenko, someone that has made a tremendous impact in the wrestling world. And Frankie pointed up at the wall and said, "My faith has been in jeopardy for a lot of years. But I will tell you this," and he points up at the great Malenko and he says, "That's my God." Now, there were some gasps. Some people probably went, "Oh, how could he say that?" I never missed a beat. I just kept doing what I'm doing, and I understood the nature of what was occurring at that time. And so, of course, Joey, who's at that time probably 12 years old or so, he's hearing that, and we had that discussion. And then on the way home, I says, "Joey, I don't know what Frankie really was referring to, but obviously the great Malenko had made an impact on his life to the degree that he really, really felt like there was such a loyalty to this family and all the children." And I says, "So again, son," I says, I'm sure you get the idea of what he was saying. He wasn't calling the great Malenko God, or maybe he did, I don't know. But a few weeks later, and I'm going to close with this, never trust a preacher when he says, "I'm going to close," because normally we got another 30 minutes to go, but I don't think we're going to actually do that today. And so normally in those days, on Sunday mornings, I would share biblical stories, parables, and things like that for Joey. And we got talking about things like, Adam and Eve. And during that time, of course, me and Joey are really immersed into wrestling. And so I said to Joey, I said, "Hey, buddy," I said, Adam and Eve, we know that story in the beginning. And they had two sons. And if you're remembering, and I was sort of, catching him back up, and essentially seeing what he had absorbed or retained. And I says, "Now, Adam and Eve had two sons, and one was Cain, and who was the other one?" And Joey goes, "The Undertaker." And I'm thinking that the wrestling thing and the biblical thing is starting to intersect here. But I says, "Oh, we can work with that." And of course, we both chuckled and had a good laugh with that. But then I asked him this question. I says, "Son, you're going to school. Kids talk. They have, they're what they hear. Some of them go to church. Some of them don't." And I said, "So with that in mind, if one of the children or one of the kids asked you about what you thought about God or who God was," I mean, friends, without skipping a beat, he goes, "The great Malenko." And I just looked at him and I went, I almost fell off the floor laughing, but even though we both had a real good chuckle, really what that had to do with is who has an influence in your life, and really for the better. And so all the things we're doing here, whether it's going to be this Saturday, whether it's going to be interviews, maybe even getting some of the Malenko family here to hear from them and hear about their father and the legacy. We have a multi-use facility, and it's here for you. It's a vision. Remember, without a vision, the people perish. And so we're excited about how it's going to evolve. And I want you all to, if you're going to come next Saturday, I want you to get ready. There's going to be some twists with the Twisted Wrestling Alliance Settled Scores live studio taping next Saturday, the 16th at 3 p.m. See you soon.